Donnie, you'll call the meeting over when he says we're live. Greg, I know is coming. So
and
Allie and Julie are not going.
won't be here.
Okay,
All right, we'll call the meeting to order of the Park Board, Tuesday, March 21st, 2023. Eric, have you taken roll?
I have taken roll. All members were present except 3, Julie, Allie, and Greg. And Greg said via email he would be here, so he's probably running a little late.
All right. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from the February 28th meeting? Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Proposal of park fees 2023.
Board members, we've asked our city legal counsel to be in attendance as we go over our proposal of park fees for this year. We have not done an update on park fees since about 2015. And if you can turn to the next to the last page, we've got the proposal of our park fees. The very top one is park shelters. That was approved at the last board meeting, but we went ahead and included it in our fee schedule just to remind everybody what our fees are on that. If I can say real quick, Greg Gillahan has joined the meeting. I'd like to just go over them real quick with you. Like I said, the park shelters, we increased that at the last board meeting to $45. Most everything, we are proposing that we keep the same park structure fees as we have in the past, except the ones that we haven't had added that we need to. The reason why we need to do this is we're trying to keep everything same for everybody, whether you're a 501c3 or for-profit. It's just easier on Ryan and I, but this way everybody knows what the park fees are when they come and do things. One thing I would like to say is when we have a park rental for a special event, we will come to the board with a park reservation agreement. That way everything is on the table. We will then send them the park reservation agreement. They'll sign it, and then it will go to the Board of Aldermen for final approval. As you can see, the trail events, we've had the haunted trail ride before, and those fees have been waived. As it turns out, after visiting with council, we can't waive fees for one group and not another. So this will alleviate the problem that everybody knows that the park fees are what they are, and we can't waive them for special because we could get in a lot of trouble by that. So that fee would be a $300 flat fee. If it's a 2-day event, it would be a $450 fee. Everything else is under the Jesse James Park is the same, except for the amphitheater, and I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and he can discuss the amphitheater real quick.
All right, so basically in the past, we used to have a different price for in-town not-for-profits, out-of-town not-for-profits, and for-profit / like corporate events, private parties, that sort of thing. What we're proposing doing is just basically splitting that down the middle and making it $1,000 rental fee. And then the 1830s, the cost of the sound tax, and they have to pay the city for staff to be out there. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And that price has been the same for 15 years.
Is that an additional 1830 over the 1,000?
Correct, yeah. Yep. Sound guys cost $800, so.
So if you want to use the trail
Yep.
in Jesse James
Yep.
and Mac Porter, do you have to pay $600?
No, the trail is a connecting trail, and we just say, because most people either want a 5 or a 10K, we're gonna charge one fee for a trail run, whether they use the whole entire trail through Mac Porter using the crossing bridge, which is great. It's just gonna be a one fee, is what we're going to charge. And we just put it on there for Mac Porter because of, just to let you know, they're gonna say a trail run, but it's gonna be for Mac Porter and Jesse James Park. That way they can have a longer trail run.
So does that, the school district will now pay that for their cross-country runs?
At the bottom, very, very bottom, our park reservation fees do not apply to state Missouri political
And
subdivisions.
that's the school district?
Correct. Yep.
So down here at the bottom, it talks about the Knights of Columbus that have the first right to serve concessions,
Yes,
and that if they choose not to do that, that another vendor can do that, which is like the Optimist Club serves at the bull ride and the
Correct.
rodeo and stuff. Says outside concession vendors will not be held to the 20% of gross receipts stipulation.
that is correct.
Okay,
That's going to be if the vendor or the person that wants to rent the facility, yeah, they have to ask the Knights of Columbus if they would serve. If the Knights so decline, they can get an outside vendor, and that's between the person that is doing the rental and them if they want to negotiate something, or they can give it however they want to do it. That's up to them. The city will stay out of that situation.
okay.
I have two questions.
Sure.
So it's a 3-hour time slot on some of these things, and there's a fee for that. That's the minimum, but there's nothing per hour after that, so it's only in increments of 3 hours? And my second question would be, has there ever been any issues that there have incurred any type of cleanup in any of these places that the city has done?
We have not. First question on your pavilion or park shelter rental. We'll talk about the park shelters. Sometimes they'll book a 6-hour, if they're having like a little family reunion up by the playground or a birthday party, they'll rent 2 time slots. We have had that, and it's just a flat, then it would be $90, okay? Now on the pavilion, the 3-hour time slot, and then it's $25 each additional hour.
I see that, okay.
And we have had that in the past. Yes, many times, so.
I see that.
As far as cleanup goes, we haven't had any major issues, I'd say.
Correct.
Maybe you covered it, but how's resident versus non-resident? Are you having any issue with determining that, or they provide?
The only thing that we can't do is on the pavilion, because we can't determine if they're out of town, and that's a pretty good difference of price. And on the pavilion, we have them call in. If they want to rent the pavilion, they'll call in to us because we don't have the credit card machine. The other rentals for shelters and things of that nature, ball field rentals, everything of that nature, they can do right online. The pavilion will, because we keep it on the calendar if it's available, especially graduations. We've had a couple of weddings up there. Sometimes in the years past, we've had the Lions Club do their wine fest. I know the dance companies use it a lot, and they'll call in and say, hey, is this available on this certain day? It is. We'll tell them, we'll mark you on the calendar. We'll send a quick email upstairs to Becky, and that's how we used to do all the shelters and everything, and it was just too burdensome from their aspect. And it was getting cross-threaded in this way. This is why we went to the online, and it's a lot easier for the patrons to rent, especially with the shelters now that we have the new Lions Park. It just works out really, really easy. And we get the confirmation right to our email, where then we'll mark it on the calendar. Certain day, we'll go down, do the sticky or our magnetic park reservation signs. That way they know that they have it. Ryan, you have anything you want to add to that?
That's a perfect explanation.
Our Mac Porter Park, if we can just continue going down the list, we came up with this fee a few years ago once we determined that we're having a lot of out-of-town teams using the fields, and it was cutting a lot of the local teams out. That's why we went to the fee rental, and we know when they sign up, we ask everybody, whether they're local or not, because some of the local teams will have 6 or 7 players from out of town on their team, and if it's more than that, then we charge them the fee. So.
Yeah, and we set this here in Park Board probably 3 or 4 years back.
Yeah, something like that. Same way with the park shelter, it's the same, the wooden park shelter. We did that at the last meeting. We talked about the trail runs in Mac Porter Park. Like I said, it's gonna be, we're gonna let them have the whole entire park trail for a trail run. Trail event, I should say. Our pickleball complex, we've done a lot of talking, a lot of surveying. Our court reservations are going to be by the hour, and that's $15, and that is per court, not per player. So just to make note of that, that is per court. And as soon as everything is passed, within the next couple of days, we'll start to get that online. One saving grace for us is the courts aren't done yet, so we've got a little time to do that.
It'll probably be like 1st of May before we actually put it for reservation.
Right. So Ryan will get that online where we can rent out the courts. On our tournament court rentals, we are going to do a 4-hour time minimum and do an 8-court guarantee. That way they know if they're gonna have a fundraiser, they're guaranteed for 8 courts. We're gonna leave 4 out because we've got 12 courts. That will be for recreation play. If someone just wants to come up and play pickleball, they'll still have some courts available for play. But if someone wants to rent that, it's basically what it is averages out to $27.50 per court. Per court at 8 courts on a 4-hour minimum is $880. So Lions Club, Rotary Club, any club, so any person wants to do a fundraiser, they can rent out 8 courts, 4-hour minimum, and then each additional hour after that is the $220. On the state and national tournaments, we're going to do a flat fee because it'll be a much larger tournament. If we do so, get those type of tournaments, and we're going to charge them a flat fee of $3,000 a day. That everything includes lights on that. So on all the tournaments. Or if you're renting a court at nighttime, 8 o'clock, the lights will be available as well. There won't be a light fee charge. Lions Memorial Park, we discussed this, and we do not want to change the fee on that for at least this year. Then we'll have 3 years under our belt, and we'll reevaluate this fall. That way, after the seasons are done, we'll come back to you again in October or November with an updated fee schedule for the year 2024. But we want to keep the fees at Lions Memorial Park exactly the same for the shelter reservations.
Yeah, and we'll do a yearly survey from here on out with other municipal parks departments.
Did you have any complaints about the fee schedule last year?
We did not. We did not. So I do want to touch again what Connie mentioned. The Knights of Columbus 8915 has a contract with us, and they have the right of first refusal for concessions inside Jesse James Park. They guarantee the city 20% of gross concession and alcohol receipts. Should they decline to serve concessions and alcohol at an event, or someone doesn't want alcohol at an event, the event organizer can choose any concession vendor that they wish, as long as they have all proper state and city licenses and permits. Outside concession vendors will not be held to the 20% of gross receipt stipulations. And then again, the park reservation fees do not apply to the state and municipal political subdivisions.
I had a couple of questions on the court reservations for
Sure.
pickleball. Is there a limit on the number of hours that someone can rent the courts for?
We did not.
So that's more of a policy thing. We haven't determined that yet.
Okay.
So we definitely take your input. I mean, this was strictly just looking at how much would it cost. Policy-wise, as you know, we're still definitely working on.
And then you're not gonna
policy.
wanna run out there and slap your magnetic reservations up every time.
So the theory is, well, what we're operating under at least, you'll get a receipt every time when you check out and pay, that will serve as your reservation. So
Okay.
I have this in my hands, so it's on them to either have it on their phone or in their hands.
And we'll make a notation to say, keep this as your proof
Yeah,
of
it'll
court
say it on,
rental.
yeah.
Okay.
So you're not gonna be putting signs up at the pickleball courts
Oh,
that
no.
say John Costa has pickleball?
No.
It's just if you show up to play and someone's on your court, you can say, hey man, here's my receipt, I rented it.
Right, because if
That's
you sign
Pretty
up,
much how everyone that does it does.
it's on your phone, and you can print it out, if you don't want to take your phone out there with you, just print it out, put it in your pocket, and say, and it shows that you have court number 5 at 7 o'clock, boom, it's yours.
So when you make the reservation, you're reserving a court number?
Yes.
So you're not randomly just kicking somebody off, you're going
Correct.
to that number?
That way, if someone is just out there playing,
Okay.
and if someone says, I have this court, well, if there's another open court, they would have to move to another open court.
Gotcha.
So we're gonna, just to clarify, the thought is we'd have 4 courts, or X number of courts designated as courts that were available for rental.
Correct.
So if I wanna go play pickleball on a random Saturday afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
is there a way for me to go online and see if all the courts have already been reserved?
So we're not reserving all the courts, like he was just saying.
Okay, can I go online and see if A courts are reserved? Like,
Yeah.
does it show when courts are already booked and
Yeah.
when there's big openings?
Right,
Stuff like,
just
okay,
like a shelter down
Just like
here.
the
Yeah.
shelters, yeah.
It'll be just like that,
Okay.
because if it's not, it'll be-
Basically the exact same system.
Yeah.
Okay.
basically.
so you can see when the busy times
But there'll
are.
always be 4 courts that are open unless someone happens to be there, but
At least, yeah.
that
Well, the
that
thought-
no one can reserve.
The thought was there would only be 4 courts available for reservations.
Reservation.
And so you'd have 8 courts that would be designated
Oh,
as
okay.
either 6 of them with what the pickleball community refers to as paddle stacking, which basically leaves them open to play and is
Okay.
a system of rotation, that if you showed up by yourself to play, you could rotate in through this paddle stacking process. And then we'd have 2 other courts that would just be open play, that we'd probably need to talk about some sort of a time limit or
Mhm.
something, if somebody's on the court, they've got it, they can only hold it for X amount of time.
Greg, is this consistent with other municipalities that you're aware of or other pickleball courts as far as the amount of courts that are reserved at one time, like percentage wise, like we have?
To only have 4
12
available for
Yeah.
reservation? Yes, I would say so. If If not, us offering reservations at all is probably a bit of an anomaly. In that there's only one other municipality, I think, out there that offered a court reservation system. That was Lenexa BDA, and it's for residents only. And when you go through the reserve courts on their system, they require you to register your address and et cetera, et cetera. If your address doesn't coincide with their residency, then you cannot reserve a court. And I called the city of Lenexa as well and spoke with them and said, hey, is there any way I can reserve a court as an out of, and absolutely not. So Riverside does not have a system of it. Now Liberty has some sort of a system, but I was unable to find anything posted, and they've only got the 4 courts, which are usually have a lot of pressure on them. They are building 4 additional courts, so we'll see what they do. But it's not wholly inconsistent, but it's comparable with what the for-profit places like Chicken and Pickle, Elite, Serve, the other ones do, and we're well back of their cost per hour.
Yeah, it's a fraction of what their reservation fee is.
What you have is you have a select number of individuals in the pickleball community who want to go and travel and play at different places. And so let's say that Nick and I and a couple other people want to go, and we want to go to Riverside and play. Well, unless we're there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or before, one of us holding a court, when we get there at 5:30 or 5:45, all those courts are going to be full, and we're not going to be able to play with our foursome the way we would like to play. So what this would allow us to be able to do is reserve a court in Kearney at, from 6 to 7 or whatever time it might be. Then we could be guaranteed that the 4 of us could go do what we want to do for the hour or 2 hours we have it reserved, and then we can step off and play on the other courts, and someone else can take over the reservation. Or if nobody's playing on them, they just become another open court.
Well, I'm not a pickleball player, but I'm just trying to think through the whole procedure and such. And I guess my somewhat of a concern of mine would be that if somebody wanted to start a league and pay this price and had the money, they'd pay it for 3 months out of the summer and then start subcharging the players themselves. I just didn't want to make sure that
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
No, that's a valid point.
And that's something we've discussed. That'll definitely be in the terms and conditions of the reservation itself that they will have to read and agree to. And if we find that someone is attempting to do that, they can't reserve anymore.
Yeah, the places that do have it, they say it's for private, nonprofit use. I mean, they're pretty specifically spelled out. We've seen that verbiage in other facilities. And so I'm sure they'll have something
Same thing with
like
people, deciding, hey, I want to give lessons.
Yeah.
It's public property, you can't do that.
Right, we're not going to allow that.
that. So,
Yeah.
if the city or we determine that lessons or clinics or something, it'll have to be run
Through us.
through the city.
Yep.
So that, if for nothing else too, the property liability insurance can be assured this there as well. So,
So do you need a motion?
If there's no other
To
further
approve
discussion
this.
on the fee schedule, anything we missed? No? We're all good? Okay. I would like to approve the fees for the year 2023. I will need a motion, a second, and then a vote.
Okay,
motion to approve?
motion to approve the fee schedule as it is.
Second.
Who made
No,
it?
I don't know. Do you motion for
I
the
motion
first?
for
Okay,
approval, sorry.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Under public requests and petitions, I am speaking on behalf of Jamie Ingram from the Kearney School District. They would like, as they've done in years past, just hold a fun run for the Kearney School District employees, a 5K run, and on the back page is the routes that they want to use. Basically, it's the trail at Jesse James Park. The thing I visited with her about is there's one crossing that crosses the main road. And I told them they would definitely need a crossing guard or a couple of people in the orange, what do you want to, pennies, vests, safety vests, standing there. That way when a runner is about ready to run, they can block the traffic if there is any traffic at that time coming through that area. And they assured us via email that they would take care of that. We always ask for certificates of general liability, and I wanted to ask John on this. Usually for events that are non-motorized or things of that nature, we get $1 million policy. If it's a non-motorized or a high risk of incident or injury, is $1 million okay that we ask for the school, do you know?
Yeah.
Whatever
For the school district?
yeah.
Yeah, I would suspect the school district being a public body, like the city of Park Board,
Right.
would have, is going to be carrying higher limits than that, usually to match the sovereign immunity statute. But in general, for a low risk situation like that, there shouldn't be a problem with that. But again, talking about the school district, I would expect that they're going to have higher limits.
Yeah. But say, for example, someone wants to come out and just do a fun run, and it's a Lions Club, for example, and they want to do a fun run. Is $1 million policy okay for something of that nature? Or would you check on that and get back with us?
Yeah, I would, because once you get into risk management, that's a pretty specialized area. As a general principle, you'd always like to see the city require contractors to carry amounts consistent with what the current sovereign immunity limit is, which it's over 2 million now. It goes up a little every year.
Well, it is 3.258, 368,000.
Yikes, I'm showing my age.
Yeah, so it's about 3.2 million.
Yeah, and again, a lot of times cities will have limits lower than that. It's difficult for a lot of entities, particularly smaller ones, to carry liability coverage in that amount.
Okay.
I mean, once you go up from even 1 million to 2 million, the price of the policy can be prohibitive for many
People to host something.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, I'm speaking very generally because that's a more specialized area, but we can look into that for the city.
If you would, I would appreciate that. And I'm not saying just for the school, I'm just saying clubs or something of that nature that wants to do a run or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you do that, I'd appreciate it. But they want to host the event on Saturday, May 6th at 8 a.m. The only thing that we have that day is the Lions Club that is going to host a fun day fishing derby for kids that day, so it won't interfere with anything of that nature.
What time is the derby?
I
Probably
do
in the
believe,
morning.
pardon me?
I mean, so there will be traffic and,
Well, there'll be traffic, but it won't be, they won't be constantly on the trail and things of that nature. So we don't think it will interfere with the fishing derby at all. And that's basically all I have. And like I said, on all of these types of things, I would like to do anything that we bring before the board, such as this. We would have a park reservation agreement. So I will get a park reservation agreement if you so allow the school to have their 5K run on that day.
so do you need a motion from us to allow the school to have their 5K run
I do.
I
on,
knew that the school's allowed to have their 5K run.
okay,
I'll second that.
okay, all in favor?
I
Aye.
second that, I'm
I
sorry.
do.
Thanks, Ann.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Kurt Hamilton.
Kurt, if you would step up to the podium and again, state your name and address.
Yep, Kearney Hamilton, 1608 Stone Lake Drive. I don't know exactly what you put me on the agenda for, so if you want to finish that.
Well,
I was just requested to be here,
the
so
reason why is at the last meeting.
We like you here every time.
I'm here a lot.
We had the different fee schedule and it hadn't been approved by the board. And Kurt had some concerns with the concession agreement. And so basically, excuse me, Kurt, if you would tell the board again what you would like to do, and if they approve, we will draft a new contract for you based on the new fee schedule and rewording the concession
Right.
situation.
No, it's helpful, and thank you. So yeah, I was here a couple weeks ago, and I talked about a lawn tractor pull. That was kind of what we were speaking about doing that at Jesse James Park and doing it in the rodeo arena, attaching it to our summer celebrations event.
What day again?
June 3rd was the original day. One of the things that we're working on as an organization, when we started talking about this process 2 weeks ago, and then now as the process has evolved with, fees being approved for all nonprofits, it's the same as a public entity. Us as an organization, we're looking at all the events that we do in general, and we're going to have to reevaluate that. We understand the fees. I've talked to Eric and Ryan, I've talked to Sheila. I mean, we understand the process of that. But there's a lot of events that we do, and a lot of them are not profitable, which means that some of them are going to need to be removed. Not all of that is due to the park fees or any of that. Some of it is due to the sovereign immunity that we were talking about. So when you talk about the same thing we were just speaking of, for us, that raises the amount that we have to pay over a couple $1,000s in addition, just to be able to host events. So if we're going to pay this new insurance amount, we really have to limit what we do as an organization. We only have, I brought numbers and some information to share. We only have one event out of the 14 that we do that's actually profitable, and that's our gala. That's because we raise, a ton of money in one night to go towards a lot of specific purposes. But I checked some numbers. Summer celebrations, which is what we were gonna add to the lawn tractor pull, lost $4,600 last year. Some of the other things like the haunted trail ride lost $1,000 last year. That's equating mostly the time that we have to pay people for payroll. When we look at the fiscal totals, they usually are profitable, or we wouldn't do them at all. So the haunted trail, walk that we did last year made about $1,000. Summer celebrations didn't make any money. So for us, it's kind of hard to look and evaluate and say that we're going to have to pay an additional $300. I know at the Board of Aldermen meeting yesterday, there was the discussion of event permits as well. It's an additional cost. I know that it's minimum of $35, but I know some board members talked about maybe that not being enough. And there's also other fees with barricades and signs changing as well. So again, it's just us as an organization. I kind of did some of the math, and with fees staying where they're at, in addition to if the permit stays where it's at and the barricades stay with it at, I know that's still being discussed, but insurance and everything, it puts our organization over $5,000 of new cost. And with events not even making money, we can't incur even more expenses. So we're reviewing it as a board, as a staff, as a team. We have a board meeting on Thursday this week where we're going to discuss this and say what events. But it's pretty safe to say, like, out of the ones that we don't think that we're going to be able to do anymore, just because of some of these new guidelines, the lawn tractor pull, we don't think we're going to be able to do it anymore. So that kind of can be kind of removed or dismissed for now, in addition to the haunted trail walk. It's two events that I think we're just going to have to remove. Some of the ones that we know that we're pretty sure that we're going to keep, the Christmas event, we feel very confident in that. We want to keep Oktoberfest, but we're gonna have to talk about it. It lost $17,000 from a payroll side of it on our end. So it's a very sensitive issue. It made two other organizations $1,700. That's great. We got a little $1,700 check as well, but a lot of the time is the big part for us as an organization. And we're the ones predominantly doing a lot of the events in town. So we're just evaluating it as a whole, because us as, an organization, we just have to make sure that we have enough money to continue operating. We purchased a new building recently that I know several of you in the room were aware of, with the new Reese Nichols office, and we're going to put new youth programming there. It's a crunch year, and just with some of that, we have to really look back and keep every dollar pointed to exactly where it needs to go. So that's kind of just my information. I don't know if you have any questions or comments for me, but that's kind of just a little bit of information.
So are you taking the lawn tractor pull off the agenda?
I don't know if it's best, because like I said, I'm one voice in that, and I think it's important to have, I have a board of 12 individuals. I want to make sure that they have a voice in that. They might see that all of the events are important. I know I've gotten some opinions, but I haven't gotten every opinion of the board, and I'm probably only gonna have about 7, with it being spring break this week. I probably only have 6 or 7 board members at my 12 too. So I don't know if it's best to postpone it, but it's hard to tell right now, just because we're trying to make those decisions as quickly as we can, because we know that it's important to get the events out there in front of the public.
We can table that, and if he wants to come back in April, to the April meeting, he can come and ask for permission at that time.
Just a question for generating revenue. I mean, are the participants paying, or are the spectators paying, or do you have any sponsors for any of these events? Because you may have to look at different avenues to offset the increase in the costs.
Yeah, I mean, like some things like, Halloween and Christmas, there's no cost for the public to attend something like that, right? So we want to make sure that that's important, so that way. But you talk about, Oktoberfest, Second Saturday, some of those. Oktoberfest, we chose it to be $5 a person just because we want people to come and enjoy it. Sure, we could make it cost more, but then it kind of goes against the idea of making it affordable for everybody. We tried $15 the first year, and it kind of worked, and we charged everybody $5 the second year, and we made the same amount of money basically. Just found ways to kind of lose some of the expenses. But that's the other thing that we're struggling with, because we already tap a lot of the businesses, because our organization also has Kearney Family Foundation under its umbrella, and some of these bigger nonprofits now. When we go and talk to businesses and we say, hey, we would like your support, and you write a $2,000 check, we have to split that between seniors, youth, events, Kearney Family Foundation, and everybody gets a small piece of the pie. And I feel like we've already exhausted a lot of our businesses more than we should, especially doing a capital campaign in the last 10 weeks of last year. So for businesses to have to pay more for their sponsorships, that's hard. We raised the prices this year for some of them, and that'll help offset some of them. But with program expenses, people griped about paying $5 a person to even come to the Haunted Trail Walk. And it's hard because, citizens don't always want to pay for some of these events, but that's a big chunk of why we can't do them either. Because we've played around with some of the numbers before, but I mean, even the farmer's market, that's under us too. That's something that's being under review. It's just, it lost $4,500 last year. So it's just kind of like, we're used to kind of taking these hits every year, but now that we have an event coordinator and a farmer's market coordinator and we have more staff, we have to make sure that we have enough money to fund those positions. So it just makes us reevaluate things a little bit bigger as we've grown so exponentially over the last 4 years.
And so is the prohibitive factor the cost of a $300 cost?
No,
Or
and I told them, I'm trying to make that, that's one of the expenses of many. So I mean, some of the things, if you throw in, it's like, kind of like it's a long time coming that we should have sat down and evaluated these more. But an event like Summer Celebrations, if it starts 16 in the hole and then it has to additionally do more, it just is hard to justify looking at it. With the Haunted Trail, we probably could do it, but if we only cleared $1,000, let's say we make $1,500 this year, we pay the park fee of $450 for the 2 day of having the walk, we're just gonna clear the same $1,000 that we made last year, which is really $1,000 in the hole once we pay the staff to do it. So I feel like with the fees, the insurance is a big bit of it. I looked around at other people's kind of Liberty's, Sovereign's 2 million, Excelsior's is 2 million. For us to go to 3.2, we have to raise all the way to 4, and that puts us, into that threshold. So it's just one of those, the insurance is $2,250, and that's, that does cover us for all the events. But again, it's just one of those expenses that's hard to see. The barricades if we wanted to do Second Saturdays on the street, that would be a big cost to rent the barricades each time instead of just using them like we have in the past. We've done Second Saturdays where the farmer's market is, so we really haven't had any cost because we were on the school district's grounds. So it's kind of like if we shift and kind of adjust to what some of the businesses want and, try to close down a street, that's when more costs kind of incur. So
I understand your concerns, but I don't think a city can have, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't everybody follow the state Missouri sovereign immunity limits
That's why it's a state.
for insurance? Yeah, no. So we can have 3 point something, whatever Missouri says, but another community can have something different?
Yes, there's no requirement by state law for a city to carry or require insurance limits that match sovereign immunity limits.
But if the city requires it to match the sovereign immunity
Yes.
limits, that's what the
limit is.
that's what.
That's what
it is.
Right.
Yes,
That's a
okay,
decision for the city to make.
okay.
And the way Sheila's explained it is, that's the number, is the 3.2. And that, if that's fine, if that's the number, that's what the number is, and that's the price for us to take it over there. I'm just sharing, because I was curious as well, right, because I thought that might be a question.
Yeah.
So that's why I went out and, Excelsior does have an event permit, just roughly, I think it's like $25 or $125, depending on how large the event is. Gladstone has an event permit, Smithville doesn't have a cost, or Smithville and Liberty are the ones that don't really have costs associated. So it's kind of like, it's up in the air, and like I said, I'm here just to speak on behalf of why things have to change for us, just because there are new fees, there are new things happening, there are rules that are changing. I understand why they're happening, but we have to evaluate as well to see what makes the most sense for our organization as we go. The concessions was a big thing that I talked about last time, and that was something that got changed. I think that's a great idea, because if we wanted to have Optimist Club out at, if we were gonna do the lawn tractor pull, have Optimist Club out, I think it's very important that they keep their full proceeds, because they're giving it right back to the community. So I think that's important. I understand the Knights relationship for sure. We use them for Oktoberfest, and we appreciate the generosity that they show our organization and donate those proceeds to the 3 charities as well. So I'm just trying to deliver transparency for what's changing on our end as well, so you know what's going on.
So previously, nonprofits had the fees waived or they were reduced? What was it?
We kept everything the same. The nonprofit, as far as, say Jay's Bull Ride, for example, which is on the agenda. And I wanted to bring that back because we're keeping the fees the same as they were last year. He's a nonprofit, they paid the fees.
We've never done an event at Jesse James Park where we would have had to pay a fee before. This would have been the first time. The only event that we've ever used a park before was 2 years ago when we started doing the haunted trail walk. We've done it for 2 years, so this would have been the third if we continue to do it. So that's the only park that we mostly use Lions Park for everything that we do, with our mission park having the downtown revitalization adjacency. So that's usually, that's why it's kind of new to us as well, but that's one of the reasons.
And you said the reason for that was a legal reason, or?
No, it's for recouping our costs for upkeep of the park. We pay for all the lights. We just put in, the festival committee was able to get some lights. We paid for all the materials, all the install. We paid for all the light bill out there, all the electricity out there. It's for upkeep of the park, so we can continue to improve the park as we go through year to year.
Same with the event permit, that's cost to recoup for staff, looking and checking over the list and things like that, so.
Is it possible for organizations within the Kearney community that are obviously doing a lot for the betterment of Kearney to have any sort of a different, I presume everything has to be the same regardless?
Yeah, that would make it an
So
exception.
even though they have a relationship with the city, it's not considered under, it can't be brought in under the Parks Department or anyway brought in under something with the city. I just think about a lot of the things they do and the goodwill it brings towards.
And that's the situation of having, being able, like, we will waive the park fee for their trail ride. We gotta keep everybody the same, or we'll have litigation against the city of allowing one group to do something, the other group not doing that, and so it's.
Basically, the policy is one 501c3 pays, they all pay.
Irregardless of residency or
Right.
everything like that.
Or none pay.
Right, so if I was in, yeah,
Which,
if I would be
we're
in
gonna run
Liberty,
out of
then I
money
could
real
get it
quick
for free,
for
yeah. And so I see both sides of the equation for sure, because then if I'm in Liberty, I wanna come in and just use it, then they get the same benefit as me, who
Right.
does use a lot of things more often. It's just it's kinda like both sides have their hands tied, so I get both sides of it, but I just trying to figure out a solution, but we've talked about that. I've talked to Eric and Ryan about that and Sheila as well, just to make sure we have clarification.
I'm sorry.
I'm, with some of the events for sure, it would be disappointing to see some of them go because like you said, they deliver a lot of goodwill to the community. It's just hard, in the world that we live in to keep delivering services for free with the community not always supporting it back. I could go outside and I guarantee nobody knows what the Kearney Richmond Council still is if I ask anybody on the street. So it's just one of those things just as, when the Parks does events, they don't know who does them,
Right.
They just reap the reward of it. And that's sometimes the unfortunate truth, and not trying to speak ill on our citizens. It's just sometimes hard to deliver the services. Yeah. And I've spoken with numerous nonprofit professionals that do events. It's same delivery, and that's why we get burnt out of our roles sometimes. And people.
I know the Richard Council, and I know you personally and such, and you do a lot for the community. I appreciate that and such, and I hope that we can, as a board and with you, partnership in some way, even give you some ideas or do something, because if we just continue to make these barriers where nobody has any events at the parks, then, we're just gonna cannibalize, our opportunities there to, entertain the community and kids, adults, whatever it is out there, so.
Yeah, we're a $700,000 nonprofit, and like I said, we're complicated because we have a lot of incubation of other organizations kind of underneath our umbrella, but I will say if it's hard for us to pay, it's gonna be very difficult for other organizations to be in the same boat as well, so.
Did you say you had a board meeting this week,
Thursday morning.
Is there any reason that we need to table this if we could?
If you want to allow him, in case they come back, and give them permission with the fee structure that we have, this way he doesn't have to wait another month and he can start doing their planning in case.
It's not gonna hold them to the event
This
if
way,
you
yeah.
allow them to do it, so.
Right,
I mean, that might be the wise thing to do.
you can do
All
that.
right, so we need a motion for Kurt to hold his lawn tractor pull under the new fee schedule on June 3rd, 2023. Is that correct?
At Jesse James Park.
Okay.
Yep.
Motion,
I'll make the motion.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming, Kurt.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope things work out better.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Kurt.
Dan Colt.
Dan Colt with the Jesse James Festival, talking about a demo derby. There he is. And Jay, you want to come up too? You can as well.
I'm not as pretty as he.
Dan, if you'd state your name and address.
Dan Colt, 17910 State Highway, Trimble, Missouri, 61492.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so basically, we wanted to hold an extra demo derby outside of the festival time that we have in September. We're basically doing it for some of the same reasons that the gentleman that was here before me, revenue, trying to help pay off some of the costs that it takes to run a festival these days, because, everything else has gone up, and so has entertainment that we hire. We were actually very amazed when we went down to the MAP convention and the vendors and what they're wanting to charge now. They're wanting to charge mileage to get here, they're wanting, fuel charge, and it's getting ridiculous. But anyway, with that being said, that's the reason that we started sitting down and talking about doing an extra derby. I think the community would enjoy it. They seem to enjoy the one we have in September. So that's why we're on the docket for trying to get permission for you guys to let us have it in May of this year.
Do you have a date?
May 20th? Yes, sir.
We are clear on that date.
Is it going to be a copycat of the September Derby, so everything will be the same, or is it, do you have anything different planned?
It'll be more or less a copycat.
Mhm.
It'll be the only thing we'll have.
May 20th. The only thing what?
That'd be the only thing we'll have to go on, it's just a derby.
You'd have like an afternoon start or evening start?
Evening,
In just one night?
yes.
Okay.
Do you look to have more cars or less cars since it's, you know, everybody knows that you're doing the one in September, but
Well, from what, you know, we have a promoter that we have to hire to put this on, and according to her is, it's an early derby. Usually the early derbies do well. So we expect the same amount of cars. Plus, we've built a pretty good reputation.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So they don't run out of junk cars by the end of the.
And they like the way we put it on, they like, you know, that we're fair. Of course, the location's good, so yeah.
Eric, do you have any concerns about having another derby out there in May?
We don't. As a matter of fact, when Ryan and I were down at Missouri Fairs and Festivals, they brought the idea to us, and we told them they'd have to, because it's not in their 2-week Jesse James Festival, they would have to come to the board and get permission. The fee structure would still be the same as what we just approved. And if they would have to ask the knights if they would serve beer. And then the other vendors, if they do it like they do at their regular derby, if they get a cut of it, that's okay. Whatever they can work out with their other vendors, that's fine, but the Knights would have first right of refusal to serve some concessions and alcohol out there, and approval then would go with a park reservation agreement and then go to the Board of Aldermen for final approval. But I don't have any concerns of this May 20th day.
So Eric, I have a question
Yes,
concerning the concessions.
yes,
Larry has first right of refusal, but we
Yes.
can still have food vendors out there.
absolutely.
Now, I know the beer is a different deal.
Yep. If you hire the Optimist to come out there and you hire funnel cakes and that's on you. However you can work it out with your vendors, if you get a cut of it, that's great. If not, that's the only thing that we're concerned with for that is the nights.
I would assume that we would carry the same picnic license for that weekend that we do during the festival? How's that work?
We would do the picnic license through the nights,
You would do, okay.
like we do with the other amphitheater.
I didn't know,
Thanks a lot, yeah.
because this would be our first time with this.
Right.
Do you need a motion?
Does anybody have any other questions or discussion on that? We need a motion to allow the Jesse James Festival Committee to hold an extra demo derby on May 20th. out
Make a
at-
motion to approve that.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone
Who
opposed?
seconded that? I'm sorry, Greg.
He did.
Greg, okay.
They both said the same.
Motion carries. All right. Jay Bettis.
You're done? You're approved?
Thank you very much.
Good job, Dan. Thanks.
I'll get a park reservation agreement to you and get it back to me. This way we can get it on the
What is the fee on that?
1-day event,
300.
300.
Hey, Ryan, you got $150 on both.
Absolutely not. I think you still owe me 150 from last time.
Probably.
Do we have anyone here for the Bits Bull Ride?
Shirley came down and said that Jay probably wouldn't be in attendance. Last month, we did his approval with the higher fee. We'll redo the park reservation agreement for $550 instead of the $600. Everything stays the same. His date's still on the books or on our calendar. And it's just making a motion to allow the Bits to host their bull ride, and it's July 27th and 28th, I do believe. That's a Friday and Saturday. I can check real quick. It's the same date that was approved, but I just want to make sure.
28, 29.
So do we need another motion?
Just to approve with the updated fee schedule.
What,
Okay.
what fee schedule changes for him?
$50 lower now.
Yeah.
We're keeping it the same as what it was last year.
Okay.
Okay, so I need a motion for the Bits Bull Ride on July 28th and 29th under the new fee schedule.
My motion?
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Randy Fee with Christian Men's Conference.
Good evening, honorary ladies and gentlemen. How you doing tonight?
Name and address for the record.
Personal address, or do you want business address?
Personal.
Personal is 6500 Southeast Hamilton Road.
Kearney?
Missouri.
Gotcha. Thanks, Randy.
You're welcome. And what I'm here to ask tonight, to be able to rent the amphitheater on September 23rd for a Christian men's event for the full day.
And what day of the week is that?
It is a Saturday.
Calendar clear.
There, yeah, calendar is clear.
If that's not, is that the weekend after Jesse James?
It is.
Okay, so it's the
Yeah,
fourth
Jesse
weekend?
James falls on the 9th and 16th this year.
It's early.
Yeah, well, Friday.
Friday is the first.
Is the first, so
Mm.
Saturday would be the second.
There you
so
go.
That's just the way it worked out this year.
All right.
Good. Yeah, we started talking back last,
Yeah, we've been in communication for quite a while.
quite a while to put this together.
Tell us about your conference.
The conference is a men's conference, and we're bringing in speakers from across the country. We're bringing in a Shepherding Wellness, which is a group from Hawaii who actually shepherds pastors that will help them get healthy spiritually, physically, and mentally to come back in on their jobs to be able to shepherd their flocks. The event is to bring men to action again. Our goal is the Tribe of Christ is a men's ministry here in Kearney. We established it last fall. And this event will be our first event that we will hold here in Kearney. And after that, it will be a conference that we're hoping to do every year at the same time. And what we'll be doing is basically what you would find at any men's conferences or Christian groups. You'll have speakers, you'll have music, you'll have no alcohol. We'll do food and so on and so things, fun things. That's it. Do you have any other questions?
What's the cost of admission?
Pardon me?
Is there a admission fee?
There is a admission, $25.
And do you think this will draw local people, or are you targeting people across country, or?
Our goal in the beginning was to target all of the churches in Kearney and to work with them, and that's what our plans are after we get the approval tonight. So we've got a lot to do. And our goal is also this will be broadcasted by the radio station, and it will go as far as God will take it, I guess. We're just leaving it at that. I mean, it's kind of hard for your first time to gauge exactly how many people are there. In the past, we've done the Holy Smoke here in Kearney for the last 12 years, and we have anywhere between 600 and 800 people who attend that. So we have some past things that we've done, and he's been a judge. Been poisoned him a few times.
I want to be a judge.
I've been a judge a couple times.
There you go. But other than that, that's it. That's we hope to from that point on, that'll launch the Tribe of Christ here in Kearney, so that we will actively work with all the churches and the men's group in this area. Say if there's a tornado that hits half the town, we're going to scramble together all the men's churches and resources and do what we can to put the town back in shape as fast as possible. As fast as possible. Also to help feed people and so on and so forth, kind of like Samaritan's Purse.
So Eric, this would fall under the new pricing, right?
So we actually, I received this from him in November. So this would, correct me if I'm wrong, John, this would legally be grandfathered in since this was a prior application?
Yes, it would be customary to have an application correspond with the fee at the time of this.
Okay, so yeah, so this would be a $500 fee, but anything going forward, you know, they'll know next year it'll be 1,000 instead of 500.
So 500 for the amphitheater, and you're gonna need sound?
Yeah, and then this, so that's all outlined in our deal here. This is our standard form that we've had for a while. They know about the 1,030 city staff fee, which pays the city to pay city staff, and then the $800 sound technician fee, which you gotta pay the sound techs. So they know about all that. We've had a lot of conversations.
We met with them out at the amphitheater last month when it was nice and warm. It was nice that day.
And what happens if it's a complete rain out? Is there a rain date that we allow for, or they just lose their money?
We can do a rain date. That's something we'll have to get together and figure out. I think we maybe talked about doing it on the 30th for the rain day.
Maybe.
But I mean, they've got to figure out, you know, their talent on their end, you know, as far as, you know, they're bringing people in from out of state and everything. I mean, basically, we're agreeing to remain flexible on the rain day.
Any other questions or comments? So you need a motion for Randy to have his Christian Men's Conference on September 23rd
At the amphitheater.
at the amphitheater.
Make a motion to approve that.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion
Second, did
carries.
the second? Thanks, Pastor.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. And I'll give you your first promote. Hand out to every one of you. Thank you.
They were super worried because they're like, Ryan, we already printed stuff.
Oh, yeah, we're such a tough group.
Thank you.
Awesome. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you. Thank these two guys in particular.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Well, hoping for great weather.
Oh, well, we don't have to worry about that. We've got a wonderfully great leader to take care of all that.
Have you, just real quick, you been in contact with concession person? There you go. I was gonna say, he's sitting right here.
Awesome.
All right, old business, ballpark.
Just want to let you know, the LWCF has called Ryan and I, and we've gathered them some more paperwork, details.
Requested additional info from us.
Is that
which,
good?
We expect that's good. We do not
Okay.
have any form of confirmation, written or verbal, that it is good, but we, if it was a definite no, they wouldn't be asking us for more info, so.
So we're in the running.
We are still cautiously optimistic about our grant prospect in the ballpark.
And that's all we can say.
That's all we can say.
So we'll get off of Hall Park.
Okay, pickleball court update.
It's going good. The fencing is all up. All the court posts are in. The rock wall is done. This rain has really thrown a damper in some things. We're supposed to have the bathroom delivered, they thought this week. I don't know now. We're hopeful, but we think more likely it will be next week. And the good thing is they think they can get the bathroom in from the actual parking lot side instead of having to go up the trail and blocking the road. And we were really hoping this week because school's out and don't have the high school traffic, but weather's kind of thrown a damper in all of that. So Ryan and I have been fiddling a little bit with the light situation. We had to do our administration, get us signed up so we can control the lights and so on and so forth with that. And they're making us a special page because it was one page, but it also incurred with the school with their lights, and we don't want that. So,
So is it still the thing where you push the button and it's on for so many minutes and then you push it again?
It is, and we can set it up for, once they push it, at a certain time, we'll have a time frame, and we'll work with the daylight hours and get them on 30 minutes before they need them. And then at 10 or 11 o'clock, and I'm glad we said that, because we'd like to know when you want to end that. We can shut them off, and if they go and hit it again, it's not going to come on.
When did we shut them off last time?
Yeah, what has it been?
10?
Have we had complaints about that?
No.
We
I
initially had concerns from the neighbors.
At first.
At first. The thing of it is those lights were shining all,
Yeah.
these
These
lights
are
much
much
more
more
shine
directional.
down. They're directional.
They're very, very directional lights, which is great because there's a lot less light leakage, as to say like a Cobra head, which is just all over.
I think we need to look and see how, because this is a new deal, if more people can use it, we may, I would say, let's judge it, maybe start at 10, but if we still got a lot of people there, we might want to move back to 11, you know.
Part of the survey where I surveyed all the municipal and commercial facilities, they're mixed across the board, about 50% 10, 50% 11, so.
10:30.
That was no help, yeah. One thing I will point out is you have to keep in mind that these courts are an additional 300 feet from the road, and 200 feet from the road.
The parking lot lights are on right now, so if you go by in the evening time, you can see how the parking lot lights look from the road.
Right.
And that'll be a good judgment on how the others will look as well. But the thing of it is we can do a test before, at night, and look and report back to you, and we can do that at a later date and say, hey, 10, 11, here's our recommendation. Or we can say, start at 10, and if we have a bunch of people like Dan, you're saying want to stay out till 11, we can do that.
Is it too confusing to do 10 Sunday through Thursday and 11 Friday and Saturday night? Is that
It might confuse the players, it won't confuse us, because we'll set it and it'll be how it is.
But I mean, you can set it that way.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm just concerned about not so much like the light, but all the traffic and the people and the noise at night on a work night. You know, it's not the weekend, but then on the weekends, people do stay up later and stay out later.
And here's the thing too, that while you're talking about the time, we'll need to know that for the bathroom as well, because those bathrooms will be on locks at night. So when the lights go off, we're gonna set the they'll tell us how we work that process as well to lock the bathroom.
Yeah, we'll probably give them like 5 or 10 minutes after the lights go
The
off.
main person that gets affected by that is Cookie, because he's right there beside it, but, really with the parking lot, the way it is, I live down there, so the noise from there surprisingly stays kind of right there. It really doesn't.
It's a dull thud. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
it's
like
not.
a high-pitched, type
And
thing.
most of the time at night, you don't have the kids on the skateboard park. It's, they don't want to hang around the park.
You're gonna have more, the noise is gonna be more from the traffic by far.
Well, yeah, you're gonna have traffic noise and talking noise, people getting in their
Well, that's what I'm
cars.
saying, the talking noise you really don't hear.
You don't
It's kind of
hear
weird,
that.
it kind of gets
No,
muffled
and the
down
thing
there.
of it is like we said, the parking lot, it goes back quite a ways to the
I
actual.
mean, this is across that little,
where the court
swale,
was.
yeah, from, this is additional at least 200 feet back by the time you get to the end of the courts.
See, I walked in there at night because I don't like the sun. I'm one of those weird people. And when I'm walking, you really don't hear the people talk. You hear more of the ball going ping, pong, pong than you do people talking. And then when they're out by their car, you see people out by their cars all the time, but you really don't hear them talking. It's really surprising. It's kind of weird. It's kind of a hush zone down there, really.
But we can hold off on, because we'll test the lights and get a good view from over in that area where we can pull in and see how the light,
We'll plan on bringing some policies to you guys next meeting.
Yeah.
For kind of review and everything.
now I do know.
Tonight was really about setting the fees more than anything.
Right, and one thing too is, when, we'll let you know, because we are going to have a ribbon cutting out there at some point.
You
So,
guys will
What's
be
our
outside.
expected opening date of this new
They're
pickleball
supposed to
facility?
May,
In May.
late May.
You're gonna post some rules out there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of those rules need to be that all music and stuff has to be done by 10.
We'll bring that back with the
Because
policy,
if there's-
when we do policy. and
That kind of amplifies things where the talking really don't, but if somebody's out there playing pickleball with a boombox out here, it might bother somebody.
Wouldn't that be covered though by a noise ordinance already?
Yeah, but people are, still need to be reminded. I mean, it needs to be on there when they read it.
There'll be a policy, we'll come up with some
Yeah, we'll have
rules
the
and
world's
regulations.
longest policy board.
Yeah.
It'll just be
And
like
we'll bring
7
that to
feet
you.
tall.
Well, I
And
think,
you do
yeah,
it too.
something like that, you can put those policies on a website.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's.
Or use a QR code or whatever.
100%.
It still needs to be.
You're so tech.
All right, spring sports?
Ryan?
Yeah, so spring sports signups are just wrapping up now. We're in our last week of them. Happy to report that soccer signups are up an additional 15% from last spring. If you'll recall, last spring they were up like 33%. So we continue to grow our soccer. It's insane. Softball, baseball, and t-ball all will grow slightly. Not sure how much because we'll get a bunch of people this week signed up, but it'll be within a couple % of last year increase. So everything is growing.
It's good.
But across the board, we were up again 33% last year on everything. So it's a good thing. One thing I do want to point out too, since we're talking about spring sports, as you all know, we kind of started the Kearney Parks and Rec Scholarship Fund for kids who can't necessarily afford to pay for the programs and everything. And I'm really happy to announce that currently we're sitting at $3,000 donated since the inception of the fund. And we just received a very nice donation from the Ministerial Alliance that we are very happy and thankful for. To date, we've had about $500 in registrations, which is roughly 10 kids, and they vary per sport because of materials and everything. But so we are in a good position to continue to serve the kids for the rest of the year.
Good.
What's the eligibility for that, or is it just saying that they want to participate but they can't afford it, or?
Essentially, right now. Right now, we're trying to keep it simple and don't have eligibility requirements until legal makes us do it.
And we've had,
I think it's great though that everybody's getting to participate, you know, whether or not they can afford it.
well, and when someone comes in,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
usually take their word for it because they don't.
yeah.
People aren't gonna say.
Is there information on the website that, where it asks for the fees that talks about the scholarship? Or is it just word of mouth?
So both. There is information on the website. One thing too that I wanted to bring up is, and I'm so glad we thought of this. Every single time anyone signs up for anything on the website, it's going to offer, say, hey, would you like to donate $5 to help out, you know, kids in need and play sports and that sort of thing? And to date, just from that, we've got $525.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, we are so happy we thought of that. And
It's really good.
we've had 71 donors just through that. So it's fantastic. So we're very, very, very happy.
Other parents want other parents' kids to play.
Yep.
That's all.
That's
cool.
great.
I told Eric today, I don't even think it's hyperbole, but I think this might be the most impactful thing we'll do eventually. So
And
very
businesses
exciting.
and the groups, we can't thank them enough. I mean,
We've picked up some corporate sponsors, Vermore Bank, Kearney Trust, and La Fuente as corporate sponsors, and it's just wonderful.
Good.
Pastor Coughlin, who used to be on our park board, stopped me a couple weeks ago at Rotary and said Ministerial Alliance wants to do that, and he emailed me where to send the check, and we got it. Very nice of him. So.
All right, new business?
Yes, a few years ago, we cut down a bunch of trees, what we call the green space area. It's got one of the shelters in it, and around that trail and around that shelter, and just to let you know, out of Jesse James Park, just to let you know, the guy's been stump grinding and got all those stumps out of there and cleaned up the area. It just looks fabulous out there. We're continuing to prune and cut trees, not only in the parks, but along Highway 33 up by Community Covenant Church. We got those out of there, dead and dying, and even trees that are healthy, we're trimming back, especially for the walkers, trying to get ahead as much as we possibly can for the spring season, and then we do it again in the fall. All this goes into our Tree City USA application. So we record everything that we do as far as trimming, stump grinding, planting of trees, watering of trees, and we did get our recertification on Tree City USA. And we're in the process right now of Arbor Day. At the next Board of Aldermen meeting, we'll have an Arbor Day proclamation. And Good Friday is actually the Missouri Arbor Day celebration. I think it's the 7th, if I'm not mistaken, April 7th. It's that first Friday in April is the Missouri's Arbor Day celebration. So hopefully we'll be able to plant a tree then. If not, we'll plant one at a later date, and we take photos, and all of that gets sent into the National Arbor Day for our Tree City USA recertification. So if we can ever get on a ball field, we'd like to start on that.
It's gonna be a little while.
Yeah, it'll be a little while. And this next week, the last week in March, we open bathrooms. That we try and have them open by April 1. And we've caught some flack where we've had some nice days and so on and so forth.
Then we had freeze events.
Then we had the freeze events. And that's why we don't do it until, because we don't need pipes busted.
Nope.
So that's why.
We've dealt with that before, and it's not fun.
No,
Especially,
it's not worth it.
especially when no one catches it for several hours, and there's just a river of ice that has developed because no one caught it for several hours.
Overnight. Yeah. So that's why we do it the last week of March. Hopefully then the bad weather is taken care of.
One thing I'll add to the maintenance, Eric, we just made a big purchase on chemical for the parks, and we'll be starting chemical app very soon for broadleaf and that sort of thing.
How we doing on fountain maintenance?
Fountain maintenance.
In the middle of the lake?
pond one?
The pond one?
We have the float. We just need to find someone that can, if we can get our Brody Sanson to get his boat out there, we have a new float for it. If it doesn't work again, we'll have to go to a smaller one because we got the double pump to shoot it higher, and we think that's the cause of, there's just too much pressure that it sucks that float down, and the float gets wet after a certain number of years. So if it doesn't work this year, we'll have to take one of the pumps off and just have it at one pump and not go as high. So
yeah.
All right, any other comments or concerns? Do I have a motion to adjourn this long meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Gonna say y'all wouldn't have.
All in favor?